Welcome to the Own It Powercast, the place to be when you get serious about making big changes and accelerating growth in your life and in your relationships. Finally create the life you've always wanted, living life on your own terms. Learn how to take your fear and turn it into powerful choices that will create sustained change. Now your host, Mary Baker.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Own It Powercast, the place to come to get what you need to move yourself forward. Hey, it's Mary Baker and welcome to episode 288. Feeling safe changes the choices you make. Well, welcome back to this month where we're going to be focusing on how to grab that courage you've been looking for to make those changes you've been talking about for a while. And like we talked about last week, connection is so important for courage, and we need healthy support around us to do the hard things. So what if the bravest thing you could do, starting actually with letting yourself feel safe? Well, today we're going to talk about the kind of belonging that doesn't just feel good, it changes you. The kind that calms your body, quiets your fears, and makes it possible to finally make the choices you've been afraid to make. Because here's the truth. You can't be brave in relationships or environments where you're still in survival mode. You need the space to breathe. I think you need the space to be yourself. And I think you really need to know that someone's got your back. And like we got into a little bit last week, that's what makes real change possible. And that's what we're going to be diving into today. And as you're listening today, I want to remind you that if you need more help around getting healthier and finding healthier support, there are plenty of options in the show notes. Just click the links there. All the courses are there. You can book a one-on-one hour with me just to sort out what's going on with you and what do you need. Okay, so let's get into it. Belonging is more than just emotional comfort. I think it's not just about feeling accepted or liked either. It's really about something much deeper, and that is physiological safety. And it's something we don't talk about enough. When we're in the presence of someone safe, psychologically safe, someone who sees us, someone who really hears us and accepts us without judgment, well, their body responds in a really powerful way. Like we mentioned last week, the ventral vagal system, which is part of our parasympathetic nervous system, gets activated. That's the system that tells your body you're okay and you're safe here. Well, when that system is online, our heart rate slows down. Our breathing evens out a bit. The part of the brain responsible for detecting danger actually settles down. That's why you can think more clearly. That's why you can reflect instead of react. And from that place, I think we're able to access something we couldn't before, and that is courage. The courage to set a boundary, the courage to try something new, the courage to actually speak your truth. But without that sense of safety, without that deep, reliable belonging, your brain doesn't say you're okay. It says, I don't think it's okay here. I think there's a little bit of emotional danger here, even if people are smiling and acting nice. And when that happens, your body's going to shift into a survival mode. That fight, flight, freeze, fawn, F it. In that state, it's nearly impossible to make brave, value-aligned decisions, your values, because your system is just trying to protect you, and it's putting all its energy into that. And it would be dangerous because it would be too vulnerable to get out of that mode and be creative, right? And to let your guard down. But that's why belonging isn't a luxury, and it's not a nice bonus. It's a requirement for lasting, meaningful change. We don't become our bravest selves in isolation. We actually become them in safe company, and I watch this happen all the time. When you grow up in an environment, like we mentioned last week, where belonging is conditional, in other words, where love, approval, or your emotional safety depend on you being good, maybe you being quiet, agreeable, even invisible, meaning you did not put your needs out there, you learn a really hard truth early on, and that is being yourself is risky. So you adapt. You get small. You learn how to read the room before you speak. You become hyper aware of people's tone, their moods, and unspoken expectations. You start editing yourself, what you say, how you feel, what you need, just to stay safe. This is what it means to trade authenticity for attachment. You begin to believe that in order to stay connected, you have to be careful. So you learn to people please, overfunction, or disappear entirely. Not because you want to, but because your nervous system learned it was safer that way. And when you're stuck in that space, bravery isn't even on the table. Because courage requires access to yourself, to your thoughts, your feelings, your desires, your truth. But when you're constantly scanning for potential rejection or punishment, there's no room for that. You're surviving, you're not living. You're not choosing freely, even though you might contend that you are. And you're not really showing up as you. True belonging, I think, is the exact opposite. It doesn't ask you to shrink. It doesn't want you to self-abandon. It says, you know what? You're safe here. You don't have to perform. You don't have to disappear. You're allowed to be all of you, and guess what? We're still here. And even when you're having a crappy day, we're not going anywhere. That kind of belonging doesn't just make you feel good, it makes you feel free. And it's from that place of freedom, I think, brave choices finally become possible. You'll know you found safe belonging when you finally feel that you can exhale. When you don't have to perform to be accepted. Look, there's no need to over-explain anymore, to overgive, to be the most helpful, productive, or together version of yourself in order to be welcomed. You're simply enough by showing up as you. You know you found safe belonging when you can tell the truth, even when it's messy. You don't feel the need to sugarcoat your feelings or hide what's really going on to protect the other person. In other words, they can't handle it. You know they can hold the space for your honesty and not have to turn away from it. You know you found safe belonging when your boundaries are respected without punishment. You're not guilt-tripped, shamed, or pushed aside for saying no, even in very subtle, insidious ways. It doesn't happen when you need space or when you assert what's right for you. The relationship adjusts rather than making you feel like the problem. You'll know you've found safe belonging when you feel emotionally steadier just by being in their presence. And I want you to pay attention to that. You notice your shoulders relax a little bit. Maybe your breathing isn't as shallow. Your thoughts feel less jumbled. Because something about being with them tells your body, I don't have to be on guard. I'm safe here. This kind of support, again, doesn't just feel good in the moment. I think it actually changes how you move through the world. You start making choices that reflect your truth, not just your fear. You become more decisive because you aren't constantly second-guessing yourself. And you're more expressive because you trust that your voice is going to be heard. And you say no to what doesn't align, and not out of rebellion, but from clarity. There's a big difference there. And you start saying yes to the things that matter most, even when they scare you. That's what safe belonging does. It doesn't just hold you. I think it helps you come back to yourself and move forward as the version of you who finally feels free to grow. The next thing I'm going to talk about is something I've witnessed so many times over the years when I've had groups. And or if I'm working with someone individually and they come into a session and talk about how they have some new friends at work, or they joined a support group, or they have neighbors that they've gone walking with. And so they start making big changes once they have this support in place. Because once you feel truly safe, something powerful begins to shift. You stop making those decisions based on fear, like we mentioned earlier, and you start making them based on your values, what matters to you. Because when your nervous system isn't bracing for rejection or punishment or abandonment, you can finally hear your own inner voice more clearly. And that voice, it's been waiting for a chance to speak. What does this look like? What am I talking about? Well, one way is saying no. So even when you're scared of disappointing someone, because you finally trust that honoring your limits matters more than keeping the peace, you are able to say no. Plus, you have your healthy support that has your back. So you can handle the rejection better from someone that you need to say no to, and it won't decimate you because you have people who want you to set boundaries, who think you're doing the right thing, who believe in you, who aren't going to punish or abandon you for doing it. It might look like starting something new, like a new job, a conversation that you've been putting off, setting a boundary even if you're not perfect at it, because you're no longer measuring your worth by that flawless performance and all that people pleasing. Because again, you have people in your corner, even if it's two really close friends who believe in you. It can look like letting go of relationships or roles that have been keeping you stuck, keeping you small, keeping you afraid, because you're beginning to believe you deserve room to grow. And finally, asking for what you really need, what you actually need, and not in this roundabout 3-paragraph way, not with all the apologies attached, but clearly and more directly, because guess what? Your needs no longer feel like burdens, and you know that your needs matter just as everyone's needs matter. Every one of these actions is brave, I think. And they don't become possible by just pushing harder, shaming yourself, or just doing it. You already know that. They become possible, I think, when you feel anchored, when you have the steady reassurance of real belonging behind you. That's attachment. All the attachment studies where the child will go and explore if they had a secure attachment to the caregiver. They felt safe enough to go explore because they had a place to come home to. And they were strengthened by that healthy attachment. That's what this belonging is giving you. And that kind of connection doesn't just support your healing. I think it frees up your courage. It says, you're not in this alone. Go do the hard thing. We're going to be here. And that, more than grit, I think, more than hustle, is what fuels real change, which is why I put my coaching group together, because I know they need each other to be a safe place to do the courageous work of change. And it is amazing to watch people's lives change completely by doing this work together. So some of the things I want you to think about are, where in your life do you feel the safest to be fully yourself? Who is that person? Who are those people, and why? Like, how do you know? Or maybe you just never thought about why, but you know you feel safe. That's fine. Who helps you feel emotionally steady when things get hard? Helps you feel calmer and grounded and solution focused. They might be the same people that you just thought of, and that's fine. And then finally, what brave choice have you been putting off lately? And what kind of support might make it feel more doable, and why? Like, what kind of support do you need right now for that? So today we talked about how we're often told that courage is only about inner strength and that we have to dig deep and face the fear alone. But that's not how it actually works. I think courage is really a relational experience, and we're more likely to take brave steps when we're feeling emotionally safe and supported and connected. So we talked about how safe belonging, not just fitting in, but being truly accepted and supported, is what becomes the foundation for real change. And that's because our nervous system responds to connection. And it's why we're more likely to take a risk when we're feeling emotionally secure. And what happens when that belonging is missing or conditional. We also talked about the difference between false belonging, where you have to shrink to fit in, versus true belonging, where you expand to be yourself. If you want to work through this with all the guidance and support that we've been talking about today, in my Find Your Voice program, we break down how to set boundaries in a way that helps you create healthy relationships instead of damaging them, and how to stop carrying what isn't yours. And finally, how to show up as your full, authentic self. Just click on that link in the show notes and reach out if you have any questions. Thank you so much for being here today. If something in this episode resonated with you, like if you've been trying to be brave all on your own, take a moment to ask, where in my life do I feel truly safe to be myself? And if you don't have that space yet, know this, it's not too late to build it. Start by surrounding yourself with people who respect your boundaries, know your truth, and help you feel steady enough to grow. You were never meant to do this alone. None of us were. If you want support while you learn how to stop shrinking and start choosing from your own values, well, grab the free Healthy Boundaries guide that I have and start building the safety that helps you make brave choices possible. All right, so pay it forward, keep focusing on you, and I'll see you next time.
We hope you took away some useful insights and tools you can begin using right away. If you did, please leave a positive review and share on your social media. Because could you imagine if everyone in your life really got it together? Remember, own it now, so you can really own it later.